was set up to give everybody a job, so to speak. And the budget was cut. The budget was cut about 60%. The war was over. And it also lowered, our country lowered taxes by 30%. And it finally ended the Depression. So this idea that if the federal government is denied $1 trillion of spending, doesn't mean you don't have the money. It means you get the money, and you get to spend it, and you're smarter than the government. We have placed too much confidence in those who make these wild promises that they're going to be able to take care of us from cradle to grave, and if you're in need, they can give you free stuff. We'll give you free education and free medical care, free housing, and the whole works. But the government can't do that. They have nothing. They have to take it from somebody if they're going to give it to you. And it works for a while, but we're at the point now it's not working anymore. People are waking up and they're demanding changes. So we have to offer the solution. And it's not my solution. It's not recently invented. It's been around for a long time. We knew about it. And that's the message of liberty. That means recognizing that we are important because we're individuals, but not because we are part of a group. We don't have a right because we're a hyphenated American. We have our rights because we got our rights from our Creator. We have our right to our life and our liberty, and those rights are individual, and therefore they should never be denied to anybody because they belong to a group, but no one group should get special benefits because they belong to a group either. But today we have an opportunity because of the recognition of the crisis of 4 years ago, and that it's not going to be, just a mild recession. The Federal Reserve now is being debated in this campaign. It's brought up, not as often as I think it should, but it's in the media. It's been brought up in the debates. It's the first time since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913 that it was actually debated in a presidential campaign. And the American people right now support an audit of the Fed. By 80% of the people demand an audit. When the Federal Reserve can do what they're doing now, it literally means that government will grow, and that politicians and the people will be irresponsible because the people have asked for these things. Government reflects the people, and sometimes negatively, sometimes positively. When they demanded goods and didn't want to have to pay for it, the politicians were rewarded by going and voting whatever they had to vote for and return whatever they wanted to their districts. But what we have to do, though, is recognize that we have to use the power of the people in a different manner. Many of you in this room, I'm quite sure, were very much aware of that bill, Stop Online Piracy Act. And this was an attempt by the Congress to pass legislation, the House and the Senate, for the federal government to take over and control the internet. A very dangerous piece of legislation. But there's so many people got upset with this, and it was on the verge of passing. They had the majority vote in both House and Senate. But because they heard from the people, they took those bills off the floor, which means that when we speak out, we can win. There's no guarantee that we will have those freedoms to make those changes, but we have those now, and we can do it, and the people are starting to understand exactly what happens. That is what I think is involved in this campaign at this very time. This is a very well-known state for the defense of individual liberty and self-reliance. And we have an election coming up, and it's coming up like tomorrow. And how we do here is very, very important. So we don't know how far along we are in the stage of convincing enough people to demand their freedoms back again. But I do know that this election is a very important election, and we're talking about issues that have not been talked about for a long time. There's more recognition now about at least debating, the change in the foreign policy. The American people now support our position that 80% of the American people say it's time to go home from Afghanistan. That's very encouraging as far as I'm concerned. But under these circumstances of big government encroaching on our liberties, big government being involved in extending ourselves too far overseas, this is what brings all great nations, all empires down, is overextending themselves overseas. We are overextended. We're in 135 countries. We have over 900 military bases, and we're expanding them all the time. And this is not the way to provide national defense. This is the way to bankrupt the country. And we need to now recognize that under these circumstances of big government militarily and big government economically, also comes in a direct attack on individual liberty. And right now, our privacy is essentially gone. After 9/11, a bill was passed, and it had nothing to do with solving the problem of 9/11, nothing to do with assessing the real causes of 9/11, but it did have, it was an opportunity to pass a bill they had been trying to pass for a long time. And that bill was called the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act was passed rather rapidly, and it was said that this was going to protect us. All you have to think about is now that they can use, search anything that we own, our homes, our websites, all our records, they have access to this without search warrants. And all you have to do is look at the abuse of that attitude at our airports. They should not be able to molest us and search us and x-ray us without permission, without a search warrant. There's been an encroachment here at home for a long time, whether it has to do with the war on drugs or the IRS. They write the regulations. We're assumed to be guilty until proven innocent, which is not permissible under the Constitution. The executive branch is not supposed to be writing laws. Only the Congress is supposed to be writing these laws. But that has been an encroachment. It's taken away so much of our freedom of choice. Take, for instance, the fact that now they accept the fact the government can tell you about everything you want to do with your body, what you can put into your body. You have to get permission from the government. And you say, well, that's good, because that means that we'll keep people from doing bad things and putting dumb things into their body. But yes, but maybe they'll prevent you from doing the things that you like. Maybe they'll start regulating nutritional substances. Maybe they'll get around to saying you can't even drink raw milk, and you can't do this and this, and prevent the development and letting the choice. The principle is, who should make these decisions? We allow you to make your decision about what you put into your soul and into your religious value and what you do for your intellectual pursuits. Why can't you make your own mind up on what you put in your own body? That's what a free society would permit. So the understanding of liberty really is the answer for our problems today. The understanding of liberty would change our foreign policy. You'd have to have honest money. Nobody could steal wealth from you by printing up too much money. The market would be a free market. You'd have to respect property rights. You'd have to have laws, strong laws, against people that defraud and steal and hurt people. But under those conditions, you'd have tougher laws against people who go bankrupt. Instead of bailing out the people who said, well, we're too big to fail, even if we did make the money off the system, they wouldn't, in a free market, they wouldn't have the right to go have your debt dumped on the American people and bail out those rich banks and corporations. And this argument that the free market is not regulatory, actually it's a lot more regulatory. So we have these answers, but we still have to understand why liberty is the solution. Liberty brings us all together, because if you're not judgmental, if, some people say people won't spend their money right if they had the right to spend all their own money, or people might not use practice personal habits like you want. They might not go to church, and they might not do the things you think they should do. But the whole thing is, if we believe in freedom, you don't endorse what other people do. This idea that if it's legal, you endorse people when they make bad mistakes. You don't endorse that. If somebody's wasteful and they don't save their money, you don't endorse that idea. It's up to you to make up your own mind or teach your feeling what to do. So under these conditions, we should be able to bring people together who want to use their